and welcome to Power Breakfast, an initiative part of Investonomics and ICICI Direct. On the show today, we have with us a special guest, Mr. Vivek Karve, CFO of M&M Financial Services. Thank you very much, Mr. Karve, for joining us on the show today. Earnings are behind us, but quickly, can you take us through how business is looking? In the last quarter earnings, your net income and profitability have both seen a marginal decline. I'm assuming that's largely a COVID impact.
Yeah, so first of all, Samina, hi to you and all the viewers and listeners who will be watching this video. And thank you for hosting me today. Thank you so much. So as you rightly said, after the Q4 results, we had put out a very detailed investor presentation. So I would not like to repeat whatever is already there on the investor presentation. What I will try and do now is to give you a quick update on what is the current scenario looking like. Obviously, any data which is probably not in public domain is something that I may not be able to quote. So you'll have to pardon me for that. And I'll be able to give you only qualitative comments. So with that disclaimer, let me say that towards the end of Q4, the business was actually looking up. The disbursements were looking up. The collection efficiency was improving month on month. In fact, in Q4, we had a collection efficiency of almost about 100%, with March collection efficiency at 109%. So things were looking much brighter. The prospects were better. We were gearing up for a growth season. And then unfortunately, the second wave of COVID hit all of us. And if you look at the second wave, it is qualitatively very different as compared to the first wave. So if you recollect, in the first wave, the major part of the country that was more affected was urban India. A lot of metros were impacted. Rural and semi-urban places were relatively isolated, I would say. Also, in a family, maybe just one person was impacted. But this time, I have seen two very different things happening. First, the entire family is getting impacted. One person gets affected, the entire family gets affected. And two, the rural and semi-urban markets are far more deeply impacted this time. In fact, if you see the active cases graph between the last peak, which happened in September, and the new peak, which happened sometime in April or May, you will see the number of active cases almost 4 times what we experienced in the first wave. Such has been the impact of second wave of COVID. So what does it mean for us? It means that more than 50% or 75% of the branches were closed for a larger part of April and May. Our executives who were also worried about their own health and the health of their family were extremely wary of going out in the market, and it is understandable. Right. Most of the dealerships were also closed. Our customer, who's primarily an earn and pay customer, also must be thinking twice before committing his resources for any fresh purchases. Right. Even for the repayment of his own liabilities, he will definitely think about hoarding some of that cash rather than releasing that towards the repayment. So that is the macro scenario that we have experienced in April as well as May. As June approaches, or rather June has already started, and we are fortunately seeing some unlocking happening in some of the states. Some of the states are still hanging on to the restrictions, while some other states are slowly loosening up the earlier restrictions. I believe normalcy will slowly return. The dealerships have started opening. More than 75% of our branches are now open. Slowly, the executive will start getting back in the market. They will start visiting the customers, both for business as well as for collections. So we hope that by June end, there will be some semblance of normalcy returning to the market. And as we approach the second quarter, things should definitely look better.
Vivek, very valid point there. This wave is so different from what we saw last year. And even while there is an unlock that's underway in most parts of the country, rural India, for example, case in point, Maharashtra, it is rural India that is still struggling and is still in a lockdown. I mean, look at some parts of Satara, Pune, out and about villages beyond that. So I'm assuming rural India is not going to go back to business till the end of June. So I guess it's fair to assume that this first quarter is probably going to be a washout again, and maybe the worst that we've seen from 2019 to up until now.
Yeah, I think it's been definitely a difficult quarter. And also, if you go back same quarter last year, it coincided with the moratorium scheme that the Reserve Bank of India had announced, which kind of
Right.
gave a complete holiday to our customers from payment of any dues that fell for repayment, say from March till August. But this time, because it is not a national lockdown and these are state level restrictions imposed by individual states, there is no all
Right.
India moratorium scheme that the Reserve Bank of India has announced this time around, which also puts pressure on the overall collection efficiency of most of the financial services sector companies, whether it is banks or whether it is NBFCs. Fortunately, if you were to look at on a
Obviously, yeah.
YOY basis, because there was hardly any business that happened in Q1 last year, we would still be able to deliver some growth over Q1 last year. But on a
Yeah.
sequential basis or with reference to our own targets for the quarter, as you rightly pointed out, there would be an under delivery or underperformance. I agree with you.
Vivek, provisioning for bad loans is doubled, and I'm assuming again this is largely a COVID impact. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Oh yeah. So if you look at our financials last year, in the first half we
Right.
had done certain COVID related overlays, anticipating some worsening of the asset quality, and which we did experience in Q3 after the moratorium period got over. In Q4, there is a regulatory expectation from RBI to bring our net NPA down below 4%, given our easy liquidity situation as well as given our healthy capital adequacy ratios. In accordance with that particular expectation, we made an extra overlay provision of 1,320 crores. And that has actually led to our credit cost zooming from about 3% in F20 to about 4.9% in F21. But I would say that, there will be some short-term pressure in Q1 especially, because the overall NPA situation would worsen compared to Q4, given the fact that lockdown has impacted mobility and has impacted the earning capability of my customers. Uh, we we hope that normalcy will return starting Q2 with consequent improvement in the collection efficiency, and we should be able to rein in the elevated GNPA levels back to a more reasonable level by end of the year.
Vivek, you mentioned cost of capital or cost of credit. What is the outlook internally on that going ahead for the next few quarters?
So Samina, if you look at early Q4 last year, we in
Right.
fact thought that the interest rates will slowly start going up. However,
Yeah.
come second wave and the measures that RBI has taken to again infuse liquidity, not touching the repo or the reverse repo rates, means that at least for a couple of quarters or so, the cost of debt will continue to remain benign. And as growth returns and government starts spending once again on the capital expenditure plan that it had unveiled as part of the union budget, uh, uh, which was unleashed in February last year, the interest rates may start going up again.
Right. Vivek, help me understand, what does your loan book stand at, and what's the outlook that you're setting out for yourself, keeping the COVID impact in mind, keeping the fact that we've gone through COVID second wave, and more importantly, the open up will only happen in the next quarter. So, what is the sort of internal expectations you're setting for the company in terms of loan book outlook?
Given the uncertainty that is playing out today, Samina, it will be a crystal ball gazing, at least if I were to give you any short-term outlook.
Right. Yeah.
Gross loan book as of 31st of March was in and around 64,000 crore. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I
Okay.
can't hear you now.
No, your screen froze for a minute, so I thought what was going wrong. No, it's okay now. It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
It's okay. So
So
it's
yeah,
about,
you can just tell me about your loan book.
yeah. So about 64,000 crore was my gross loan book as of 31st of March 2021.
Right.
First quarter loan growth in terms of disbursement, while will show YOY growth, but will be tepid. And with the collection efficiencies poised reasonably, there is a possibility that there will not be any significant growth in the loan book, at least in the first quarter. But we are hoping that starting the festive season, which coincides with H2 of any fiscal, we should be able to grow in the desired buckets that we want to, and therefore there should be a reasonable growth in the overall loan book by end of the year. But it is very difficult to put a number to it because of the uncertainties that are facing us today.
Right. So it would be fair to assume that we could be going back to pre-COVID sort of growth levels in terms of your loan book. And I'm asking you because there could be some element of pent-up demand that may also start playing out, right, for you in the second half of this year.
Yeah, there will definitely be some pent-up demand. Plus, the monsoon prospects are again looking good. So that means the agricultural output and hence the agricultural cash flows also are likely to be good. The government is not just the central government, but even the state governments are committed to growth, which means that they will spend on capital expenditure, which again boosts the household income at the rural areas. Which in a way augurs well for prospects of a good disbursement season, especially in H2 of the current year.
Right. Also, very lastly, while there is an expected good monsoon, the vaccination drive is also now largely in overdrive. What is the collections picture looking like? If you can just help me understand your cash flow situation, and also very lastly to understand, is the sense and belief that Q2 of the year will see an actual improvement as opposed to the first quarter? So the worst may not yet be behind us for the company, for the nation, for India Inc. largely.
So there are three questions in your question. So let me answer three of them. So far as collection efficiency is concerned, after a great Q4, our collection efficiency numbers have definitely taken some beating in the first 2 months because of very restricted mobility, both on the part of the executives also on the part of the customers. We expect some normalcy to return in the month of June as unlocking happens. The second question you asked was about the cash flows. I think we are quite comfortable so far as overall liquidity is concerned. We continue to carry a comfortable liquidity which covers more than 3 months of our future fund obligations. And we believe that amidst this VUCA environment, it is important for us to remain adequately lubricated on the liquidity front.
Right.
As regards your third question on Q2, if there is no third wave, and I'm hoping against Sel that there is no such third wave, and if the second wave is behind us, given the pent-up demand, given good agricultural output, and given prospects of government spending on capital expenditure, we can remain hopeful that the spending will be good starting Q2 or maybe at least in H2, starting with the festive season, and which will get growth back not just for my company but for the NBFC sector and for the banking sector as well as the overall economy of India.
I completely agree. In fact, Vivek, fingers crossed, we're hoping for all this to be behind us as soon as we can. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, Vivek, for joining us on the show. Well, with ICICI Direct, you can now make investments across major global markets. ICICI Direct Global Account now provides access to market opportunities in the UK, Japan, Hong Kong, Germany, Singapore, and the United States.